Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Chinese, Indians, Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, and Christians lived together peacefully. There are good examples of multicultural and multi-faith diversity and tolerance. It's a fundamental symbol of this country's rich diversity and this region's potential. And around the world, Europe, Africa, South America, Southeast Asia. One of the things I'm also doing is being young and anyone like you. It's more fun than being in a hot group. It's also more important. Because we're one of the young leaders who will determine the future of this country and this region. So I'm going to keep my part of my support at the top. I want to take as many questions and comments from you. The President of the United States evaluated our priority to deepen America's ties with Southeast Asia, in particular with the young people of Southeast Asia. I do this for reasons that go beyond the fact that I spent some of my childhood in Southeast Asia in Indonesia. That gives me a special attachment, a special feeling for Southeast Asia and this region. But I do it mainly because the 10 nations of ASEAN are home to about 1 in 10 of the world's citizens. About 2/3 of Southeast Asia's population is under 35 years old. This region, a region of growing economies and emerging democracies, and vibrant diversity that includes oceans, islands, jungles, cities, peoples, races, and religions and beliefs. This region will shape the 21st century. That's why I launched the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, to deepen America's engagement with the next generation of leaders in government and civil society, in education and entrepreneurship. More than 10,000 young leaders like you have joined this Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative network. We're working to solve the challenges and seize the opportunities of this region in the spirit of mutual cooperation and respect. So earlier this year, I held a town hall just like this one, in Malaysia. And today, I'd like to take our next steps together with you. I took office nearly 6 years ago. I said the United States would extend our hand to any nation willing to unclench its fist. Here, after decades of military rule, we've begun to see significant progress in just a few years. There's more sense of hope in Myanmar. It was once so close to the world, but the hope that it can now play in the region and in the world. But we know that their journey, progress, is not completely overnight. There are setbacks and false starts, and sometimes even reversals. That was true in America for our 230-year history. That's happened We've seen some alignments. We should acknowledge that progress. We also know that despite the fact that political prisoners have been released, people are engaged in political dialogue, there's parliament, civil society is emerging. Despite all that, some reforms have not come to the agreement. There are still attacks and criminals and minorities. America still deeply cursed on the humanitarian situation of treatment of minorities who were disadvantaged, abused. This is that's something we President Jeffrey and Sushi, or Parliament, the society, because people are happy today ensure that the right rights will be respected and people of the best country be reached by the ways the region as a whole. And I was also proud of the announcements that these people will come here to the outcome of these people on the forgiveness and order opportunity to young Americans to interact with young people here in the young and that people is involved and that's what we're forward as government exchange. So I'm deciding how to live. History is not always our control. History can drive a lot of areas and sometimes that happens. Building the process, and here's how to live. It takes time. Being able to look past disorders, violence, it takes courage. Certain gains, freedom, democracy requires faith and certain goodwill and tolerance and respect and diversity. Ridiculous from all the citizens. Everything all about the rights and freedoms are not given. They have to be won through struggle and discipline and persistence and faith. And often found young people who are in these struggles. Who compelled us to slowly but surely prevent our own union in America over time. I have to say that we're really saying, I've got to make sure that I say this right. No one began time. That time. That means I literally reached the sand, I literally reached the top, you persevere. America's committed to helping young people in this nation and this region until we reach the top. We believe in this nation. That's why I've come to visit twice in the last few years, because we see a future where democratic institutions will be accountable and responsive, political, activists freely, elections are fair, where journalists can pursue truth, and minorities can live without fear. We're betting on this country, we're also betting on this region. Because we see young people of different nations and religions and ethnicities who take our country together and address all the challenges around it. Environmental protection, human rights, improving education, combating poverty, advocating for a great role for women in business, government, and in society, increasing resilience in the face of natural disasters, supporting economic progress so more young people follow your footsteps to get a good education, have opportunity. We see young leaders who embrace the diversity of this region, not as a weakness, but as a strength, and realize that even though we're all individually different, come from different traditions, different communities, we're stronger when we work together. The future of this region, our region, is not going to be determined by dictators or by armies. It's going to be determined by entrepreneurs, and veterans, and dreamers, and people that are doing things in the community. And we're going to be the leaders who make that happen. Your generation has great potential to shape society that any generation can come before. Because there's been knowledge of everything. You gotta have more sophistication and experiences and your parents or your grandparents. And you have now the chance to share our knowledge and experiences with other young people all across this region and around the world. That wasn't true 20 years ago or 50 years ago. Finally, uses his power to tell the story of his fellow Burmese. He studied at Gettysburg College in the United States. Their transformation that he watched unfold through Facebook decided to return home and make an award-winning documentary about the plight of Burmese farmers. And he says, our country has been built for so long, there are a lot of stories to be told. So you young people have the chance to tell those stories. We have the power to improve institutions that are very important for democratic governments, like civil society, impartial judiciary, free press, and private enterprise. There's so much to build here. A country like this is critical that you get involved in that way. Here's an example. Louis Frederick, refugee journalist, he stood surrounded by the wreckage of a title of the Philippines. He made himself into an engineer for his fellow citizens rebuilding. Today, the organization he co-founded puts solar rooftops in developing and corrupted communities. He wants to use his skills to encourage other enterprising young people in other countries to stay in their countries and help other people. To think locally and act locally. You have the power to remind us all that human dignity is not just a personal aspiration, but a human right. So, Ray Newton spent 7 years in Europe behind bars as a political prisoner. She built a university about life. Today she uses that Harvard degree to advocate tolerance and acceptance, saying, we too sacrifice many things for the same cause, and that is democracy. We have the chance to overcome hatred and ensure that freedom rather than repression, hope rather than fear is governing our country. We are set our own countries on a new and different path. And in all of this, America wants to be a part. We want to help in any way that we can to help you shape your future. We want you to have the tools and connections and resources that you need to change the world. So, one way that we can do this, I'm announcing a significant expansion of Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative Fellowship. An exchange program that will bring 500 Southeast Asian leaders to the United States every year. These fellows will have the chance to strengthen their professional and leadership skills, network with one another, share experiences, ideas, and then come back home better prepared to lead your region and change the world. So some of these fellows will benefit from 5-week instruction at some of the best universities in America on issues like entrepreneurship, environmental stewardship, and civil society, and human rights. Others will have the chance to work in professional fellowships and state and local governments and NGOs across the United States. Finally, through this program, I hope some of you will be able to take advantage of it. When you spend time in the United States, our people learn from you. This is not just learning from us. And when these fellows then return home with these new ideas and new experiences, our embassies and USAID issues will reach out and offer the support and resources to help make your dreams a reality. So today I'm proud to announce that America will convene a Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative Summit in this region every year, giving fellows a chance to share their successes with each other, strengthen that network to accomplish even more. So I hope some of you will take advantage of this. I expect many of you will take up the mantle from student activists like Aung San Suu Kyi and Nick Conan. Take our rightful place as leaders in a stable and prosperous and progressive Southeast Asia. And as you, I promise you, I will better find our partner in the United States. Thank you very much. Any good thought today? appreciate Mike's audience. Okay, take a moment to our next one. Who wants to go first? Just stand right there.
I'm Joe Wayne. I'm the third year student graduating in Ashton University, Kansas State. And I'm
still working on my pronunciation.
I'm here with Solitarian and Ritual Balance firsthand my education. So the question I would like to ask you to answer is, how can I be part of educating my generation to promote tolerance and respect all cultural differences, and most of all, eradicate extremism among different communities?
Great question. Thank you so much. I had a chance to meet with some society groups and I had a press conference earlier today. Yesterday I had a chance to meet with parliamentarians of the speaker, the two speakers, and then spoke by the president. And all of them, I just said this. There's no example of a country that is successful. If these people are divided based on religion or ethnicity. We're looking at the Middle East right now. And the chaos that's taking place in a place like Syria. So much of that is based on religious differences. Even though we're all Muslim, Shia and Sunni are fighting each other. If you look in Northern Ireland, and Catholics fought for decades, and only now have arrived in peace. So, in this globalized world, where people of different faiths and cultures and races are going to meet each other inevitably, because nobody just lives in a village anymore. People are constantly getting information from different places, new ideas, meeting people who are different from them. It is critical for any country to abide by the basic principle that all people are equal, all people are deserving of respect, all people are equal under the law, all people can participate in the life of the country, all people should be able to express their views without fear of being oppressed. And all that is to start with each of us individually. It's important for the government to play a role in making sure that it applies laws fairly, not arbitrarily, not on the basis of preferring one rule or another. But what's also true is that each of us have to cultivate that attitude of tolerance and mutual respect. And for young people, we have to try to encourage each other to be tolerant and respectful. So, the United States is one of the biggest problems historically that been the issue of racial discrimination. And part of our efforts to overcome racial discrimination involve passing laws like the civil rights law, voting rights law, that require marches, protests, not picking. But part of the effort is also people changing their hearts and minds and realizing that just because they're in the lately doesn't mean that they're not worthy of respect. And so when you're growing up, and you saw a friend of yours call somebody like derogatory name of who made because they were different. It's your job to say to that person, actually, that's not the right way to think. All right? If you are Christian and you have a friend who says, I hate Muslims, then it's up to you to say that, you know what, I don't believe in that. I think that's the wrong attitude. I think we have to be respectful of Muslim population. You're religious. And you say, you hear somebody in the group say, I want to hit it differently. Your job is to sound out. The most important, I think, is you to, in whatever the first circle of influence you have, speak out on behalf of tolerance and the person that you have respect. If you are quiet, then the people who are intolerant, they will open the stage. And they'll just say terms that they. One of the things that leadership requires is saying things even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not popular, especially when it's not popular. So, I hope that as you get more influence, you'll continue to speak out on behalf of these values. All right, who's next? Okay, I'm going to go, now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's fair. Because one thing I didn't say in my initial speech is society is more successful also treat women and girls with respect. Otherwise, I won't get hold on, we're going to find a microphone.
Yes. I'm Kenshina. I would like to talk about the ASEAN affair. So my question is, there are different political systems and different democratic freedom in ASEAN. Do you think those differences are going to change? And do you believe push for ASEAN integration? Thank you.
In the next 10 countries around us, I've had a chance to meet all the leaders and UFS on ASEAN Summit. And the good news is that ASEAN has become more ambitious over the last several years and trying to promote integration, to work together on issues like disaster relief, public health, or maritime security, or improved education. And I think it's inevitable that integration is going to happen more and more. And my hope is that by encouraging integration, that countries who are doing better on issues like democracy and human rights, and a positive influence in breaking up those countries don't. That's such a good record. And actually, I think seeing that happen. Listen, when I first came on office, and I've got this very much dictatorship. And there was some controversy about me participating in the ASEAN Summit because there was no freedom in Myanmar. And I think that President Ten saying, because he was with leaders like SY and Indonesia, who had that democracy. I think the President Ten saying, we can get to see how more open societies will become more successful. And that can have a positive influence on, I think, his participation, I said, have a positive influence in providing value to begin the process and transition here in Myanmar. But it's important, I think, that even as we engage in countries that are less open, less democratic, that we also continue to apply constructive criticism where they fall backwards, where they fall short. And sometimes that's hard to do. I think a lot of leaders in this don't like to criticize each other because they think that it's not respectful. No country is perfect, so we're going to criticize one country, then somebody will criticize us. But I think the goal should be for all of us to try to improve what we come back and have with our people every single day. Yep. I'm very proud of the United States. I believe the United States is a force of good around the world. But I wouldn't be a good president if I don't listen to criticism of our policies and stay open to what other countries say about us. Sometimes I think those criticisms are unfair. Sometimes I think people like to complain about the United States because we're doing too much. Sometimes they complain because we're doing too little. Every problem around the world, why is the United States doing something about it? Sometimes other countries don't take responsibility for themselves and want us to fix it. And then when we try to fix it, they say, what everybody think of your affairs? There's no criticism sometimes. But the fact that we are getting these criticisms means that we're constantly thinking, okay, this is how we should apply this policy. Are we doing the right thing? When we provide aid to one country, but the country is ruled by small people, maybe it's not getting down to people. And we're doing the right thing when we engage in training military people professional, but we go military is to engage in purpose activity. We don't receive all of those criticisms that we'll get better. We want to improve. And I think all of us should be interested in trying to get better. Because none of us are perfect, and no country is perfect. So I do think ASEAN has an opportunity to play a very, very important role. But innovation is inevitable just because of the nature of our economies today. There's too much travel, there's too much internet, there's too much smartphones. Everybody has a smartphone. I saw a bunch of people that they should, but they don't have a smartphone. So what I can do is most manufacturers today have various products. Smartphones are made in like 5 different countries. But then they become integrated in some fashion. And then they're sold all around the world. So integration is going to happen no matter what. The question is integrate at a high level that improves freedom, improves opportunity, or integrating at a low level where there's less freedom, less opportunity. And I believe integrating at a high level. I hope this would not be also. All right. Now guys start now. No one wants to do anything. Let's start right. What's that? Here. There's a time microphone coming. Just stay where you are. Careful. Hold on to it so she doesn't fall.
Hello, Mr. Student President Obama. My name is John Yang and again, and I'm standing now. My question is, now we are in the democratic transition, so our country is facing so many challenges in every sectors. So if you were the president of Myanmar, which and how you will make our country better. Thank you.
Let me just say, I'm popular in selling our country. We don't have to do English complaint. I think you're right. We have so many challenges. I think the most important challenge right now is completing our transition to democracy. And so my first focus is, I think, more focus that many people have already talked about. Number one, there needs to be an election next year. It shouldn't be delayed. Number two, there should be constitutional amendments that ensure a transition over time to a fully civilian government. Number three, there needs to be laws put in place to protect freedom of press, freedom of expression, freedom to politically organize. And I think that if that process is fixed and institutionalized in a big company, then they now have the tools to deal with all the other challenges. And I think that inevitably, what would happen if you had a genuine democracy in Myanmar is focus next would then be on providing economic opportunity, because Myanmar is still a very poor country. And what we know in the 21st century is that the more important tools for economic opportunity are making sure that young people are getting a good education. My understanding is that the education system in Myanmar is still underdeveloped. I think all of you represent the best of Myanmar students. My understanding is that many villages you go to where there's really no schools that are practical matter. Many of the schools still teach just how to memorize certain things rather than how to think critically about problems. And every country at this point, if it wants to succeed, needs to put in place free, compulsory education for children, because they just can't succeed unless they have some basic skills. They have to be able to read. They have to be able to do mathematics. They have to have some familiarity with computers. They have to be able to understand basic principles of science. If you don't have those basic tools, then it's very hard to find a decent job in today's economy. Now, because we're still very agricultural, I think the big issues of land reform and trying to increase productivity in the agricultural sector is also very, very immediate and urgent problem. This is true not just in Myanmar, this is true in many relatively poor countries. In Africa, for example, we initiated something called Feed the Future. And the whole goal is to improve the productivity of farmers. And farmers in many other countries, they still use the same techniques that they used 200 years ago. They're still using a buffalo or an ox and still waiting on rains. And sometimes new techniques, they're not necessarily expensive. It's just a matter of applying them scientifically. If you double yields for a farm, and double income for farmers in a country like Myanmar, suddenly you have increased wealth, which means that some people now have certain businesses, maybe now somebody can take some of the profits they made and invest in a tractor, or they can start processing the rice that they produce so that they can gain more value. Or they may buy a smartphone so they know what prices are in the market and not taking advantage of. So just small big changes I understand, I'm not an expert, yes, that some of them also require some forms in terms of land, ownership, and leasing, so that people can keep on as a labor as opposed to just being essentially what we call sharecroppers in the United States, where we're working on land, but we're giving over to somebody else, and then we're never getting ahead. So those are just two examples of things that I think will happen naturally if you've got a democratic system in place. Okay? All right, it's the ladies' turn. So, we've got something about classes. We've just been very hard. That was an excellent question.
Good morning. My name is JT. I would like to ask one question. My question is, now we are all working on TV, so America has already developed in IT, so can you provide any development center like IT and talk opportunity for you?
I was just talking to the civil society groups, and there was one person there who mentioned that internet penetration in Myanmar is still only about 9%. Which means there's enormous room for growth. The issue for IT in a country like Myanmar is, first of all, setting up the infrastructure, whether it's wireless or other methods, so that people can start communicating. Once the hardware is in place, then where real development happens is in the software. And that's where it's really about education, training, and developing a full-blown capacity. And so what we'll do is work with civil society groups, work government, find opportunities where we can promote building of the infrastructure that's required. But what's really going to be important is also making sure that young people are trained. And part of what's going to happen is, in the United States, most of the IT development happens in the private sector. Our government invested in research, and so the idea of the internet was developed with the help of government funding. But when it came to the World Wide Web, then all the applications and social media and all that was really developed through the private sector. So part of that has to happen once democracy is installed in Myanmar, then also looking at how we restructure laws that encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. So, for example, one of the big things that I'm having in trade negotiations with Asian countries, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, big trade initiative that we're moving forward, is we need to protect intellectual property. If you invent a better track, then in the United States, you go to a patent office and you register the patent, you show them that this is an invention. And if anybody wants to produce this tractor, they have to pay you for using our idea. The same is true for intellectual property. You come up with the idea of Facebook, and you need to be able to get a benefit from this idea. And one of the problems I think that you still have in many countries in Southeast Asia and around the world is weak intellectual property protections. Which means that they're not toward a good idea. You don't want to start a business here. You've got to next thing you know, somebody steals an idea that just starts a business. So you'd rather start the idea in the United States where you know that it will be protected, and then maybe you lease it to other countries, but jobs and opportunities will be created someplace else. So setting up regulatory structures, protection of intellectual property, all things are also very, very important in order to get a strong IT culture and innovation culture here in our country. Okay. Answer. Let's see. Hold on a second. Now, you're not really that head right? I think questions. I think you have to summarize quickly because you don't want to. No, I'll take a sheet. I'll read the rest.
My question is, I know you don't know the meaning of how to gain national identity, and then different
That's right, question. I was talking about this civil society groups because we are very, very supportive of the efforts to get a ceasefire and peace process with the ethnic groups that have been engaged in conflict for a long time. We've already talked about some problems that one populations have faced in the state. But what I said to the civil society is, yes, it is important to protect the specific ethnic groups from discrimination. And it is natural in a democracy that ethnic groups organize among themselves to be heard in the halls of power. So in the United States, for example, as it's obviously developed, the Irish, big cities, they came together and they built organizations. They promote the interests of Irish Americans. And African Americans, when they were seeking freedom, you had organizations like the NAACP that promoted the interests of African Americans. But there's nothing wrong with groups organizing around ethnic identity or around economic interests or around regional concerns. That's how democracy actually works. Right? You get with people who agree with you or like you to make sure that your concerns are heard. But what I said is that it is very critical for democracy that people's identities are also a national identity. If you walk down the streets of New York City, you will see people looking more different than this right here. You'll see blue eyed people, you'll see dark skinned black people, you'll see Asians, you'll see Muslims, you'll see. Why? If you ask those people, what are they? America. Now, I may be African American, Asian American, Irish American, but the first thing they'll say is, I'm American. And you don't have that sense of national unity. It's very hard for our country to succeed. Particularly a small country like ours. If people think in terms of ethnic identity or national identity, then I think over time, the countries will start breaking apart. And the democracy will not work. So that's common purpose. But that's not an excuse for minority groups to say, don't complain to minorities because everybody may have some real complaints. And the part of what is important for the majority groups to do, if in fact you have national identity, that means that you've got to be concerned by the minority also, because it would affect badly on your country if somebody from a minority group is not being treated fairly. America does not live up to its potential until they treated its white citizens fairly. That's just a fact. That was a stain on America. When people vote for legal protection. Because it made all of the declarations of independence and constitution and rule of law, it made that seem like an illusion. So when the civil rights movement happened in the United States, that wasn't just a victory for Africa, that was a victory for America. Because what it showed was that the whole country was going to be concerned about everybody, not just about something. It was a victory for American national identity, that it was treating minorities fairly. That's, I think, every country in ASEAN, including Myanmar, needs to think about these problems. You need to respect those differences. You need to be attentive to grievances on minorities that may be discriminated against, but both the majority and the minority, powerful and powerless, also have to have a sense of national identity in order to be successful. I got time. Two more questions. Two more. I'm going to take two. I'm going to say one of you. What do you think? Are you friends? Okay, so why don't you decide? What do you think? Okay, rock, paper, scissors. Rock, scissors, yes. It's a great start, but I think, as I said before, one of the biggest challenges Myanmar faces is rebuilding its education system. And I think it has to start from the youngest stages. One of the things that we learn from science is that the most that you ever learn in your entire life happens about your born until you're 3 years old. Between your birth and the age of 3, that's your brain developing the most. And what we learn, for example, is that when we read, parents read to young children, even more the children know how to read. The children are building a vocabulary that will put them in a strong position to learn how to read later on. Because they really words over and over again. And so I just make that point because children that you don't worry about literacy education when you're not worried about what happens to children when they're 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and we're missing the foundation for a good education system. And this is what the United States is. We've got the best university system in the world. Obviously, I'm biased, but I'm the president of the United States, so I think everything in the United States is the best in the world. But I think anybody objectively would say, and we have a system of universities, colleges, that is not equal anybody place else. But we have a problem. One of the things that I'm talking about when I'm on the forum is the elementary, secondary, levels, and also even earlier having what we call early childhood education. Get the children onto a good start. Because by the time they go to school, they already know the alphabet and they already start reading at an early age. And I hope that ends up being a very basic emphasis here in Myanmar. But I also think that from what I've heard, one of the reforms that will need to take place in universities here is to make sure that in all departments there is the ability for universities and students to shape curriculums and to have access to information from everywhere around the world. And then it's not just a narrow process of indoctrination. Because that's what universities are one to teach how to think what's in it. Good education is not just knowing facts. Well, you know facts. You need to know that what goes to a school. Not five. That's a fact. But you also need to know how to ask questions. How to critically analyze a problem. And how to be able to distinguish between fact and opinion. How to compare two different ideas. And the debate here sometimes in countries that don't have all the tradition of higher education to try to narrow the learning process, as opposed to open it up. And I think that's something that I'm sure university students here in Myanmar want to express during the course of this transition period. The reforms that are taking place. All right, that's one more question. Wait. Don't put it yelling. All the women have to put their heads down because I told you it was going to go real. And the second thing is, how many scholars are from countries other than Myanmar? Okay, so I think in the interest of ASEAN unity, and because the young Southeast Asian leaders forum, I've got to ask. No.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President. My name is Ryan. I'm from the Philippines. I'm one of the first persons. Given the team, so thank you so much for promoting us, making me one maybe for what games can do for a change. My question really is, I just learned recently that the president will be making a climate change statement. I'd like to, if you can tell us what this is all about and how this would be different from the Kyoto Protocol and other climate change efforts in making real efforts towards curbing climate change. Thank you.
So first of all, let's just establish science and facts. The planet is getting warmer. The reason the planet is getting warmer is because human activity is releasing greenhouse gases. It's trapping heat and increasing temperatures. Because of this, you start getting a negative feedback loop. It gets hotter, ice melts, permafrost, and places like Syria start releasing methane gases, ice packs, greenhouse start melting. That then makes it warmer, and we're on a trajectory in which the temperatures rise so high and have catastrophic impacts around the world. Because temperatures start changing, weather patterns shift, traditional monsoons might reverse themselves. Areas that once had normal lands now have long droughts. Areas that used to be temperate suddenly floods. We're seeing that in developed countries, we're seeing in my own country, and we're seeing that in some poor countries. And we're seeing that in island nations where if the temperatures rise, we'll end up with oceans that are 2 feet, 3 feet higher. It could be so swallowed up by entire countries. This is perhaps the central challenge, the most important challenge facing humanity in the 21st century. We're getting control of this. Now, the good news is that we can begin to slow down that process so that temperatures will go up to a certain level, and we'll have to make some adaptations because it doesn't become catastrophic. But in order to do that, we have to start transitioning our economies to clean energy rather than dirty energy. It means that we have to start developing wind power, solar power. It means that societies have to use energy more efficiently. It means that we have to find ways to use save nuclear power because that doesn't emit greenhouse gases. So there's no single answer. There's a group of answers to the problem. And some of you may be aware that the United States, China, are the two biggest emitters in the world. The United States had been the biggest emitter. China overtook us. In fairness to China, each individual Chinese person probably uses less energy and emits less greenhouse gases than individual American. But there are a lot of Chinese out there. And if China continues to develop, they start managing the United States on our carbon they release, we'll never survive. None of us. Same is true with India. Just because of the size of those populations. And the same is true about Southeast Asia, which, as I said before, maintains 1 out of every 10 people in the world. Well, all of us are going to be a part of this. And the United States and China, meeting with President Xi, we announced that we are both going to set bold targets for greenhouse gas reductions from 2020 forward. What we're encouraging ASEAN to do is that other ASEAN countries also come up with goals for how they are going to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. And if all countries around the world put forward ambitious goals, the Paris conference that we're going to be having in 2015, and then this serves as the basis for collective action in reducing greenhouse gases. But although we know what we need to do, the transition will be different. Because, just to give you one example, Indonesia, you might not have to chart about this, and has been cutting down its forests at a very high rate. In order to calculate the oil industry. Now, the oil industry is very lucrative. You have some very big landowners, big pipe companies who make a lot of money from the oil industry. They're pretty crazy jobs. But when you just forest entire sections of Sumatra, that can have a devastating effect on the planet. There are countries in ASEAN that subsidize energy. Now, oftentimes this is not the best intentions. The idea would be to make gasoline cheaper or electricity cheaper so that more people can afford it. The problem is that when you subsidize energy, there's no incentive to use less energy. So typically, we have a lot of fuel subsidies. Those economies are very inefficient in how they use energy, and they generate more pollution. The countries that are most efficient in energy use, not only do they not subsidize energy, in fact, they tax energy use. We look at a country like Norway, which produces a lot of oil, but gasoline is still $6,000 to $7,000 a gallon. Which in liters, who wants to go liters for it for me? Anyway, very expensive. So part of what we hope each country in ASEAN commits to is to take the steps that will be required to reduce or release low carbon emissions and then slowly start reducing them. And it doesn't have to be overnight, but the transition has to begin. So if you look at a country like Indonesia, making a commitment to reduce deforestation, reduce and eventually end fuel subsidies. Those two things alone probably help Indonesia meet the very bold carbon reduction goal. In the United States, I'm instructed by the Protection Agency to regulate the amount of greenhouse gases that power plants can send into the atmosphere. We double fuel efficiency standards on cars. So, in a few years, by the middle of the next century, 2025, you won't be able to sell a car in the United States unless it is delivering twice as much mileage for regular gas. So when you don't build in transition times to get this done, but we have to start. And this is probably a good place for me to get by just saying that the issue of climate change is a perfect example about why young people have to leave. Because old people, they're creating us, and then they go on. They're the ones that deal with it. And also, what happens is all we're going to get separate ways. You're only going to get more like what I say. That's how it's always been. That's how I'm going to keep on doing it. Even if there's a better way to do things. Young people, they're asking, well, why do I want to try it? Wait, let's try it this way. And that kind of really you accept challenges and try things in a good way. Not be stuck in past, but look towards the future. That's what all of you represent. So I'm hopeful that you have a chance to participate in our outside of these Asian Leaders Initiative Fellows Program. Maybe outside of the United States. All of you are doing great things. And I hope all of you do great things, work hard to achieve those things. Okay?